The red alert siren wailed through the corridors of United Earth Command headquarters. Admiral Harris glanced up from his holographic display, his weathered face illuminated by flashing emergency lights. The distress beacon was real and urgent. "Sir, we've confirmed the signal. It's the research vessel Horizon. Last known position at the edge of the Cygnus sector," reported Communications Officer Taylor, her fingers dancing across the control panel. Admiral Harris nodded grimly. The Horizon was one of Earth's most advanced research vessels, with a crew of 37 brilliant scientists and engineers. They had been mapping an uncharted region when their regular transmission suddenly stopped 3 days ago. "Play the message," Harris ordered. The room fell silent as a scratchy voice filled the command center. "This is Captain Bell of the UES Horizon. We've encountered something. Unknown vessels approaching. Our engines are damaged. We need immediate assistance. There's something strange about these ships. There." The message cut to static. "That's all we received, sir," Taylor said. "It repeats every 12 minutes. Harris paced the floor, his mind racing through protocols and available resources. "How far are they from the nearest military outpost?" "Too far, sir. At least 4 days at maximum speed." "And our closest vessel?" Lieutenant Cooper consulted his screen. "The UES Mercy is currently in the neighboring sector, sir. Rescue and medical vessel under Captain James Walker. They could reach the Horizon in approximately 18 hours. Harris nodded. The Mercy was perfect. A state-of-the-art rescue ship designed specifically for deep space emergency operations, and James Walker was one of their best. "Send the coordinates to the Mercy, and have the Defender and Protector divert to provide escort. I don't like the sound of unknown vessels." "Yes, sir." Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of the UES Mercy, studying the distress coordinates with a frown. At 42, Walker had spent more than half his life in space. His calm demeanor and steady hand had saved hundreds of lives over the years. The crew called him the Rock behind his back, a nickname he pretended not to know about. "Captain, we've received the mission brief from command," said his first officer, Lieutenant Emma Reed. "They want us to investigate a distress call from the research vessel Horizon." Walker nodded. "Set course immediately. Maximum speed. The Defender and Protector will rendezvous with us near the target location to provide security," Reed added, passing him the detailed information. Walker reviewed the data, his expression serious. "Get the rescue teams ready. Have Dr. Miller prepare the medical bay for potential casualties." "Yes, sir." As Reed left to relay his orders, Walker turned to the viewport, watching the stars blur as the Mercy accelerated to top speed. Something about this mission felt wrong. In his 20 years of service, he'd learned to trust his instincts. In the medical bay, Dr. Lisa Miller organized her supplies with practiced efficiency. At 36, she was the youngest chief medical officer in the fleet, known for her brilliant diagnostic skills and steady hands under pressure. "Doctor, the captain wants us prepared for rescue operations," said her assistant, Ben. Lisa nodded. "Let's set up for multiple trauma scenarios, full burn units, pressure injuries, and radiation exposure protocols. Better over-prepared than surprised." As her team transformed the medical bay into an emergency trauma center, Lisa reviewed the Horizon's crew manifest. 37 souls, scientists mostly, with minimal combat training. If they'd encountered hostiles. Her thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of Security Chief Mark Davis. Tall and imposing, Davis had been a Marine before joining the rescue fleet. "Doc, I'm coordinating with your team on extraction procedures," he said. "If there's a threat present when we arrive, we'll need to work fast." "My people will be ready," she assured him. "How bad do you think it is?" Davis's expression was grim. The captain's concerned. The message mentioned unknown ships, but gave no details. Command hasn't had contact with anyone out this far. Lisa felt a chill. The universe was vast and mostly unexplored. Humanity had encountered other intelligent species before, but those contacts had been peaceful, if sometimes awkward. Could this be different? 18 hours later, the Mercy decelerated as it approached the horizon's last known coordinates. The military escorts, Defender and Protector, had arrived just minutes earlier and taken flanking positions. "Scan the area," Walker ordered. "Any sign of the horizon or other vessels?" The sensor operator, Rodriguez, worked her console. "Picking up debris, sir. And, yes, I have the horizon. Still intact, but showing significant damage to the engine section. Life support appears to be functioning, but at reduced capacity. Any other ships?" "No, sir, not at present." Walker studied the tactical display. The debris field suggested a violent incident, not an accident. "Communications. Try to raise them." After several attempts, Rodriguez shook her head. "No response, Captain." "What about their emergency beacons? Any signs of life?" "Yes, sir," Rodriguez replied, her voice rising with hope. "I'm detecting multiple life signs aboard. They appear to be concentrated in the central section of the ship." Walker nodded decisively. "Bring us alongside. Lieutenant Reed, prepare 3 rescue teams. Davis will take security point. Dr. Miller accompanies Team 1. "Sir," Reed hesitated, "what about the unknown vessels from the distress call?" "That's why we have escorts. The Defender and Protector will maintain position and keep scanning. If anything approaches, they'll warn us." Walker stood. "I'll lead Team 1 myself." As the Mercy maneuvered closer to the damaged research vessel, Walker watched through the viewport. The Horizon's sleek hull was scared with what looked like weapons fire, precise hits to engines and communications arrays. This was no accident. It was an attack. "Captain," Rodriguez called out suddenly, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the far side of the debris field. They weren't there a moment ago." Walker felt that familiar tightness in his chest. Danger approaching. Define unusual. "Sir, they're similar to what we'd see from cloaking technology, but more advanced than anything in our database." Walker's decision was immediate. "All hands, battle stations. Recall the preparation teams to defensive positions. Warn the escorts." But even as he gave the order, 3 massive ships shimmered into existence around them. Black, angular vessels with hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their design was utterly alien. "Sir, they're charging weapons," Rodriguez shouted. Walker's mind raced. His ship was built for rescue, not combat. The escorts were outgunned, but the Horizon still had survivors. "Shields to maximum. Get between those ships and the Horizon," he ordered. "And send an emergency burst transmission to command. Tell them we've made first contact, and it's hostile." As the alien vessels opened fire, Walker knew their rescue mission had just become something far more dangerous. And if they survived, Earth would need to know what they were facing. The true test was about to begin. The first blast struck the UES Defender before its crew could react. The escort ship's shields flared brilliant blue for 3 seconds before collapsing entirely. The second blast tore through its hull like paper. "Defender is hit," Rodriguez shouted as alarms blared across the Mercy's bridge. "They've lost power to all main systems." Captain Walker gripped the command rail, mind racing through options, each worse than the last. "Status of the Protector." "Moving to engage, sir. They're trying to draw fire away from us." Through the viewport, Walker watched the smaller escort ship dart between the alien vessels, its weapons firing continuously. The alien ships barely seemed to notice. "Get us closer to the Horizon," Walker ordered. "Prepare for emergency docking. We still have a rescue mission to complete." Lieutenant Reed stared at him. "Sir, with all due respect." "This is what we do, Lieutenant," Walker cut her off. "We save lives." As the bridge crew worked frantically, Walker opened a shipwide channel. "All hands, this is the captain. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. We will proceed with our mission to rescue survivors from the Horizon. Security teams to emergency stations. Medical teams stand by. This is not a drill. In the medical bay, Dr. Lisa Miller felt the ship shudder from a glancing hit. Equipment rattled on the shelves as the artificial gravity fluctuated momentarily. "Ben, secure those supply cabinets," she ordered calmly while checking the trauma bays. Years of emergency medicine had trained her to function under pressure. "Everyone, trauma suits on. We may lose atmosphere in sections." The medical team moved with practiced efficiency despite the fear on their faces. Lisa sealed her own trauma suit, designed to allow medical procedures even in vacuum conditions. The comm unit on the wall crackled to life with Security Chief Davis's voice. "Medical team, prepare to receive multiple casualties. First team is about to board the Horizon." "We're ready," Lisa replied. "How bad is it out there?" A pause. "Bad. The Protector is holding them off for now, but those alien ships, I've never seen weapons like these." Lisa checked her emergency kit one last time. "Save who we can, Mark. That's all we can do." The Mercy shuddered as it maneuvered alongside the damaged research vessel, extending docking tubes to create a stable passage between ships. Walker led the first rescue team himself, Davis at his side. "Atmospheric pressure in the Horizon is unstable," Davis reported, checking readings on his suit. "We'll need to move fast." Walker nodded to the team of 6 security personnel and 3 medical technicians. "Remember, survivors first. Any data or research is secondary." As they cycled through the airlock and entered the Horizon, emergency lighting cast long shadows through smoke-filled corridors. The internal damage was worse than scans had indicated. Entire sections were open to space, sealed off by emergency bulkheads. Life signs concentrated in the central lab and crew quarters, Davis said, consulting his scanner. "This way." They moved quickly through the ship, encountering the first survivors huddled in what had once been the mess hall. 5 frightened scientists looked up in relief at the sight of rescue personnel. "Captain Bell," Walker asked the group. A woman with a makeshift bandage around her head stood shakily. "Dead. Bridge took a direct hit in the first attack." Her voice was rough. "I'm Dr. Matthews, chief researcher. We're getting you out of here," Walker assured her. "Can you walk?" As the medical technicians treated the wounded, Matthews grabbed Walker's arm. "Captain, they weren't just attacking. They were taking people." Walker froze. "What?" "The aliens. They boarded before you arrived. Took at least 10 of our crew." Matthews' eyes were wide with fear. "They specifically targeted our genetics team." A cold feeling settled in Walker's stomach. "Did you see them?" "The aliens?" Matthews nodded slowly. "Tall, gray skin. They seemed curious, like we were specimens." She shuddered. "There's something else. The research data. They didn't get it." "What research?" "We found something out here, Captain." Matthews lowered her voice. "A massive construction. Some kind of staging area. We documented everything before they attacked." Walker made a quick decision. "Where's the data?" "Secured in the main lab, along with more survivors." On the bridge of the Mercy, Lieutenant Reed watched in horror as the Protector erupted in flames, breaking apart under concentrated fire from the alien vessels. "Both escorts lost," she reported into the comm. "Captain, we've got 3 hostiles closing in. Our shields won't last much longer." Walker's voice came back, tight with tension. "We've found 12 survivors so far. There's a secure lab ahead with more." 5 minutes. Reed looked at the tactical display. "They didn't have 5 minutes. I'll try to buy you time." She turned to helm control. "Evasive pattern Delta. Use the debris field for cover." As the Mercy began to move, one of the alien ships broke off to follow. Its strange weapons fired again, blasting through the debris field. "They're targeting our engines," Rodriguez called out. "They don't want us to leave." Walker and Davis reached the main lab to find 8 more survivors barricaded inside. Among them was a young woman clutching what looked like a simple data drive. "Dr. Ryan," Matthews greeted her. "You kept it safe." The woman nodded, her hands shaking. "Everything we recorded. The facility, the ships, their patterns of movement. It's all here. Walker addressed the group. We need to move now. Our ship is under attack. As they began ushering survivors back toward the docking tube, the ship's emergency system announced in a calm voice. Warning. Hull breach imminent. Section C decompression in 15 seconds. That's between us and the airlock, Davis said urgently. Walker nodded. Alternative route. Through engineering. They redirected, moving as quickly as the injured scientists could manage. Walker kept in constant communication with Reed, the news getting worse with each update. Captain. Reed's voice was grim. They've targeted our docking connection. We need to detach now or risk catastrophic damage. Walker looked at the survivors, still 3 corridors from safety. Negative. We need more time. The ship rocked violently, throwing several people to the floor. That wasn't the aliens, Davis said, checking his scanner. The Horizon's reactor is destabilizing. Walker made the hardest decision of his career. Reed, prepare the escape pods. We can't make it back to the Mercy. On the bridge of the Mercy, Reed stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The Horizon's core was going critical, the alien ships were closing in, and the captain was still on the research vessel. Escape pods launching from the Horizon, Rodriguez reported. Reed watched as 3 small pods ejected from the research vessel. Track them. Prepare for recovery. But as the pods accelerated away, the alien vessels changed course to pursue them. They're going after the survivors, Reed realized with horror. She had one option left. All power to engines. Position us between those pods and the alien ships. The Mercy surged forward, its damaged hull groaning under the strain. Reed opened a channel to the pods. Captain, we'll cover your escape. Walker's voice came back, broken by static. Negative, Lieutenant. Get the Mercy out of here. That's an order. Sir, we can still. The data has to reach Earth. Walker's voice was firm. Dr. Miller has it. I'm in Pod 2, drawing their fire. Get her pod to safety. That's my final order. Reed watched as Pod 2 suddenly changed course, heading directly toward the largest alien ship. The aliens immediately focused their attack on it, ignoring the other pods. He's sacrificing himself, someone whispered on the bridge. Reed stood straight, honoring her captain the only way she could. Helm, lock onto Pod 1 and Pod 3. Maximum speed back to Earth territory. As the Mercy turned away, its sensors recorded one final act of defiance. Captain Walker's pod accelerating to maximum speed before colliding with the alien vessel's weapons array in a brilliant flash of light. The diversion worked. The Mercy and the remaining pods slipped away into faster-than-light travel, carrying with them both survivors and crucial information about a new dangerous enemy. The first battle was lost, but Earth would soon know it was at war. The UES Mercy limped into Earth's orbital defense perimeter, its hull scorched and torn. Defense stations immediately dispatched repair drones and medical shuttles as the battered rescue vessel eased into dock. News of the attack had traveled ahead, and a crowd of military officials waited in the arrival bay. Lieutenant Reed stood at attention as Admiral Thomas Stone approached. The Admiral was a legend in the fleet, a tall, imposing man with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. He had also been Captain Walker's mentor. "Report, Lieutenant," Stone said, his voice deceptively calm. Reed swallowed hard. "Sir, Captain Walker and 23 others lost in the attack. 14 survivors recovered from the Horizon, plus 11 of our own crew." Stone's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. "And the hostiles? Unknown species, sir. 3 vessels with technology beyond anything we've encountered. They attacked without warning or communication." The Admiral nodded toward the medical shuttle where Dr. Lisa Miller was helping transfer the injured survivors. "I understand there's data we need to see." "Yes, sir. Dr. Miller has it secure." Stone moved toward the medical shuttle, Reed following close behind. When they reached Dr. Miller, She was finishing treatment on one of the Horizon scientists. "Doctor," Stone addressed her, "I need that data immediately." Miller looked up, exhaustion evident on her face. "With respect, Admiral, these people need medical attention first. And they'll get it," Stone assured her. "But if what I've heard is true, we may be facing an imminent threat to Earth itself." Miller hesitated, then pulled a small data drive from her pocket. "Dr. Ryan from the Horizon entrusted this to me. She said it contains everything they discovered." Stone took the drive carefully. "Lieutenant Reed, Dr. Miller, come with me. We need to view this immediately." The command center of Earth Defense Headquarters was locked down. Only the highest-ranking officers present as the data from the Horizon played across the main screen. Dr. Matthews, still bandaged but insistent on being present, narrated what they were seeing. "We discovered this structure about 3 light-years beyond the edge of charted space," she explained as images showed an enormous artificial construction floating in deep space. "At first, we thought it might be abandoned technology from a previous civilization." The next images showed dozens of alien ships moving around the structure. "Then we observed these vessels. We kept our distance, using passive sensors only, but after 3 days of observation, they somehow detected us." Admiral Stone leaned forward. "How big is this structure?" "Massive, sir. Our estimates suggest it could house thousands of ships and potentially millions of individuals. The design and purpose appear to be," she hesitated, "military in nature." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. "A staging area," Stone said quietly. "For what?" Dr. Ryan, who had insisted on joining despite her injuries, spoke up. "For invasion, Admiral. We intercepted and partly decoded some of their communications. They refer to this region as Harvest Space. They've been taking ships for years, not just ours." She tapped commands into the console, bringing up new images. These showed what appeared to be laboratories with various alien species in containment units. Among them were unmistakably human forms. "They're studying us," Dr. Ryan continued. "All of us. Different species from different worlds. We believe they're assessing threats and resources." Dr. Miller stepped forward. "There's more, Admiral. The final data packet contains medical scans of one of their ships. The Horizon managed to get detailed readings during the initial encounter." She pointed to specific sections. "Their biology is unlike anything in our databases, but their technology, parts of it seem adapted from other species. They're scavengers," Stone concluded, "taking what they want from others." "Not just scavengers," Dr. Matthews corrected. "They're methodical, strategic. They call themselves the Vex in their communications, and they don't see other species as equals. They see us as specimens, resources to be studied and harvested." General Ward, head of Earth's military forces, spoke for the first time. "How many ships do they have?" "From what we observed, at least 300 in that facility alone. And there could be more elsewhere." The command center erupted in urgent discussions. Some officers argued for immediate diplomatic contact, others for preparing Earth's defenses. Admiral Stone silenced them with a raised hand. "What happened to Captain Walker exactly?" Lieutenant Reed straightened. "He sacrificed himself to ensure our escape, sir. Used his pod as a weapon against their lead ship to buy us time." Stone nodded slowly. "And they were attacking a rescue mission, an unarmed research vessel. They took prisoners for study." He turned to General Ward. "These aren't the actions of a civilization interested in diplomacy." 2 days of heated debate followed in Earth's United Council. Political leaders from around the world argued over the appropriate response. Some favored caution and attempted communication. Others demanded immediate military action. In the end, they compromised. Earth would attempt to establish contact while simultaneously preparing for the worst. The diplomatic message was simple: a request for peaceful communication and the return of any human captives. It was broadcast toward the coordinates of the alien structure in all known formats. 3 days later, the response came, but not in words. "Outpost Sierra is gone. General Ward reported grimly to the Emergency Council meeting. Complete destruction. 432 personnel lost. The room fell silent. Outpost Sierra was a scientific research station in the outer solar system, far from any possible accident or natural disaster. Admiral Stone's voice was cold, and the message. General Ward played the transmission. A simple signal in binary code, easily translated. Specimens do not make demands. The council chamber erupted in outrage. Admiral Stone stood, silencing the room with his presence more than his voice. They've made their position clear. They see us as lab rats, not equals. He turned to the world president. Madam President, I request activation of Defense Protocol Omega. The president's face was ashen, but her voice remained steady. Explain for those unfamiliar with the protocol, Admiral. Full military mobilization. Every ship, every weapon, every resource directed toward one goal, ensuring the survival of humanity. Stone's eyes swept the room. They'd studied us enough to know where our outposts are. The research vessel wasn't their first encounter with humans, just the first one with survivors who made it back to warn us. Dr. Miller, invited to the meeting as a witness, spoke up. The Horizon data shows they were particularly interested in human genetics and neural patterns. Their labs had more human specimens than any other species. Special interest in humans. The president asked. Yes, Miller confirmed. And based on dated records we found, they've been studying us for at least 7 years. The revelation sent a chill through the room. 7 years of abductions and experiments, all unknown to Earth until now. The president stood. The vote is called. Activation of Defense Protocol Omega requires 2/3 majority. The vote was unanimous. Admiral Stone was given command of Earth's response force that same day. As he left the council chamber, he paused beside a memorial wall where the names of lost ships and crews were inscribed. With a steady hand, he traced the freshly added name, Captain James Walker. I taught you everything I knew about space, James, he said quietly. Now you've taught me the final lesson. Some enemies can't be reasoned with. He turned to Dr. Miller, who waited nearby. We'll need everything you learned from their attack patterns, everything about their technology. Miller nodded. Already working on it, Admiral. One of the Horizon scientists noticed something about their stealth systems before they were attacked. A vulnerability we might exploit. Stone's expression hardened into resolve. Then let's get to work. Operation Righteous Fury begins now. As they walked away, neither noticed the small alien probe that had infiltrated Earth's defensive perimeter, silently recording everything it saw before transmitting back to its masters. The Vex now knew Earth was preparing for war. What they didn't know was just how terrible humanity's vengeance would be. Admiral Stone stood in the massive underground facility known simply as the Forge. 3 weeks had passed since the vote to activate Defense Protocol Omega, and Earth was transforming at an unprecedented pace. Below him, thousands of workers moved like ants across factory floors that stretched for miles. Robotic assembly lines constructed ship components, while engineers tested new weapon systems. The air hummed with activity and purpose. Quite a sight, isn't it? General Ward said as he joined Stone at the railing. Every weapons factory on the planet is running at full capacity. 6 new capital ships completed, 15 more under construction. Stone nodded. And the special modifications. Being implemented as we speak. Dr. Miller's team has been working nonstop. The mention of Dr. Miller drew Stone's attention to the research section of the facility. After surviving the attack on the Mercy, Lisa Miller had been appointed head of a special division tasked with understanding Vex technology. Let's see how they're progressing, Stone said. The 2 men made their way through security checkpoints to the research wing. Inside the main laboratory, they found Dr. Miller examining what appeared to be fragments of alien metal, debris recovered from Captain Walker's final act of defiance. Admiral. She greeted him without looking up from her work. Dark circles under her eyes revealed weeks of minimal sleep. Progress report ready as requested. Stone took the offered data pad. "Talk me through it, Doctor." Miller gestured to the fragments. "These are components from the Vex stealth system. When Captain Walker rammed their ship, the collision damaged their cloaking array." She pointed to specific sections. "The technology is remarkable, but it has a fundamental flaw." "A flaw we can exploit?" General Ward asked. "Absolutely," Miller confirmed. "Their stealth system bends light around their ships, making them invisible to normal sensors. But it creates a specific energy signature at the quantum level, something our standard equipment isn't designed to detect." She led them to a testing chamber where technicians were installing new devices on what appeared to be a torpedo casing. "We've developed quantum resonance scanners that can detect their cloaked ships. And these," she indicated the torpedo-like devices, "are modified EMP weapons calibrated specifically to disrupt their stealth systems." Stone studied the weapons with approval. "How many can we produce?" "With current resources, enough to equip our entire fleet within 2 weeks." "Make it 1 week," Stone ordered. "We've intercepted communications suggesting increased Vex activity near their staging area." Miller nodded. "We'll make it happen." As they left the laboratory, Stone turned to General Ward. "What's the status of the misinformation campaign?" Ward smiled grimly. "Proceeding according to plan. We've deliberately leaked reports of shield vulnerabilities and outdated defensive systems through channels we know are compromised. Our military responses appear disorganized and panicked, and our actual preparations hidden. The new fleet is assembled in the shadow of Jupiter, out of sight from any observation. Strike teams are ready. If the Vex are watching, they see exactly what we want them to see: a frightened civilization scrambling to mount a defense." Stone allowed himself a small smile. "Good, now show me the flagship." The journey to Jupiter's shadow took less than an hour in the high-speed military shuttle. As they approached the hidden fleet, Stone felt a sense of grim satisfaction. Before them floated Earth's response to the Vex threat, 60 warships arranged in perfect formation. At the center was the UES Retribution, the largest warship humans had ever constructed. "My God," Ward whispered. 3 weeks ago, half of these ships were still in pieces." Stone nodded. "Never underestimate humans with a purpose." Their shuttle docked with the Retribution, where Commander Robert Jackson waited to greet them. Jackson had been Walker's friend and classmate at the academy. "Admiral on deck," Jackson called as Stone entered the bridge. The crew snapped to attention. "At ease," Stone said, taking in the advanced command center. "Status report, Commander." "Ship at 98% readiness, sir. Weapons systems fully operational. Miller's quantum scanners installed and calibrated. Crew at full complement." Stone nodded with approval. "And the special modifications?" Jackson led him to a secure tactical room off the main bridge. Inside, a holographic display showed detailed schematics of the Vex staging area, compiled from the Horizon's data. "The Retribution has been equipped with an enhanced version of the quantum resonance technology," Jackson explained. "Not just for detection, but for targeting. We can hit their cloaked ships with pinpoint accuracy." He brought up another schematic showing a massive weapon array along the Retribution's spine. "The main cannon has been modified to fire a concentrated quantum disruption wave. When triggered, it will disable all Vex stealth systems within range, rendering their entire fleet visible." "Range? Half a light year, sir." Stone studied the schematics carefully. "And our other advantages? We've analyzed their attack patterns from the Mercy incident. They're predictable, overconfident in their technology. They don't expect resistance because they've never encountered it before." Jackson brought up tactical simulations. "Our ships have been programmed with countermeasures for every strategy they've shown." "What about the research specimens? The captured humans?" Jackson's expression darkened. "Special Forces teams are prepared for boarding operations. Priority is given to locating and rescuing captives." Stone turned to Ward. The President has authorized the use of the Nova Protocol, if necessary. Both men understood what that meant. The Nova Protocol was Earth's most destructive weapon, capable of triggering an artificial supernova. It was a last resort, only to be used if Earth itself was threatened with destruction. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," Ward said quietly. Back on Earth, Dr. Miller worked with her team to finalize the last components of the countermeasure technology. As she calibrated a sensor array, a young technician approached her. "Dr. Miller, I've analyzed the communication patterns as you requested." Miller looked up. "And you were right," the technician confirmed. "The VEX transmissions show a 30-second cycling pattern in their encryption. There's a brief window where their communications are vulnerable." Miller immediately sent the findings to Admiral Stone. This was the final piece they needed, a way to listen to enemy communications during battle. In her private quarters that night, Miller looked at a photo of the Mercy's crew, taken just days before the mission. Captain Walker stood in the center, his steady gaze looking directly at the camera. "We're ready, Captain," she whispered. "They won't see us coming." On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Stone received the final intelligence report. VEX ships were mobilizing around their staging area. The leaked misinformation had worked. They were preparing to launch what they believed would be a surprise attack on an unprepared Earth. Stone opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Stone. For 3 weeks, we have prepared while letting our enemy believe we are weak. They attacked an unarmed research vessel. They destroyed a rescue mission. They took our people as specimens for their laboratories." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Tomorrow, they will learn what happens when humanity is pushed too far. When they see our fleet, it will be the last thing many of them ever see. We are not specimens. We are not prey. We are humanity, and we will show them the meaning of vengeance." Throughout the fleet, crews made final preparations. Weapons were checked, systems tested, and personal messages sent to loved ones on Earth. No one had illusions. Many would not return, but none would falter. The VEX were coming to harvest. Instead, they would meet the full fury of a species that had spent its entire existence learning how to fight and survive against all odds. Earth was ready. The VEX invasion fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 300 warships arranged in attack formation, their black hulls absorbing the distant sunlight. Aboard the lead vessel, the VEX commander surveyed the tactical display with what passed for satisfaction in its species. Their intelligence had been perfect. Earth's defensive grid showed minimal activity, just a scattered collection of outdated ships and orbital platforms. The humans had no idea what was coming. "Begin the approach," the commander ordered. Stealth systems at maximum. The massive fleet advanced slowly, their cloaking technology hiding them from conventional detection. Occasional bursts of encrypted communication passed between vessels, all showing the same confidence. This would be a simple harvesting operation. They had no idea they were being washed. Deep in the shadow of Jupiter, Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the Retribution, observing the quantum resonance scanner displays. Every VEX ship appeared as a bright point of light, their supposed invisibility useless against Earth's new technology. "They've taken the bait," Stone said calmly. "All ships maintain position. Let them commit fully to the approach." Commander Jackson nodded. "They're arranging into harvest formation, just as the simulations predicted." The bridge was silent as they watched the enemy advance. The VEX ships were spreading out to surround Earth, positioning themselves for what they believed would be an overwhelming surprise attack. "Signal the fleet," Stone ordered. "Prepare to execute Operation Righteous Fury on my mark." Throughout the hidden Earth fleet, crews moved to battle stations. On the Retribution, Dr. Miller monitored the quantum disruption cannon from a specialized control room. "Disruption cannon charged and ready, Admiral," she reported. "Firing solution calculated." Stone checked the tactical display one final time. The VEX were fully committed now, their ships beginning to power up weapon systems as they prepared to decloak and attack. "Now," Stone said softly, "let's show them what humanity is capable of." The Vex commander was moments away from giving the order to decloak when alarms blared across the command deck. Before it could react, a massive energy wave washed over the entire fleet. "Stealth systems failing," a subordinate reported in their clicking language. "All vessels becoming visible." "Impossible," the commander hissed. "There are no." The words died as the tactical display updated. Where moments before there had appeared to be nothing but empty space, now 60 Earth warships appeared, arranged in a perfect battle formation. At their center was a vessel larger than any the Vex had ever encountered from humans. "Unknown human fleet detected," another subordinate called out. "They were waiting for us." The commander stared in disbelief. How did they? Message incoming from the human flagship, interrupted a communications officer. The main screen activated, showing Admiral Stone's face, his expression cold and determined. "This is Admiral Thomas Stone of the United Earth Fleet," he began, his voice transmitted across all frequencies. "You attacked an unarmed research vessel. You destroyed a rescue mission. You took our people as specimens." Each statement was delivered with increasing intensity. "Now you will learn why that was the worst mistake your species has ever made." Before the Vex commander could respond, Stone's image vanished. In the next instant, the Earth fleet opened fire. The first volley from Earth's ships struck with devastating precision. The quantum resonance technology allowed them to target the most vulnerable points on the Vex vessels, points identified from the data recovered by the Horizon. "Direct hits across the enemy front line," reported Jackson. 27 vessels disabled or destroyed in the initial attack. Stone nodded. "Begin Phase 2. Release the strike teams." From the Retribution and several other capital ships, smaller vessels launched towards the Vex staging area. Each carried elite special forces with a dual mission: rescue any human captives and plant quantum disruptor bombs at key structural points. "Dr. Miller," Stone called over the comm. "Status of the enemy communications." In her control room, Miller monitored the encryption patterns. "Their communication security is failing, Admiral. We're intercepting their orders. They're trying to regroup around their command vessel." "Perfect. Target the secondary formation with EMP weapons. I want their ship-to-ship coordination disrupted." The battle unfolded exactly as Earth had planned. The Vex, accustomed to overwhelming unprepared opponents, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Their formations were broken, their communications disrupted, their stealth systems, their greatest advantage, rendered useless. Inside the Vex staging area, team leader Alex Reyes led his squad through dark corridors, following the life sign readings on their tactical display. "Lab section ahead," he reported quietly. Multiple human signatures detected. They breached the sealed door to find rows of containment units, each holding a human in suspended animation. Among them were the missing crew members from the Horizon. "Begin extraction," Reyes ordered. "Medical team, prep them for transport. Demo team, set charges as planned." As his team worked, Reyes moved to the central control console. Using translation software developed from the Horizon data, he accessed the Vex research logs. What he found chilled him to the bone. The Vex had been experimenting on humans for years, trying to understand what made them different from other species they had encountered. "They were afraid of us," he realized as he read further. "They saw something in humans that scared them." According to the logs, the Vex had been disturbed by humanity's rapid technological advancement and remarkable adaptability. They had accelerated their harvesting operations specifically to prevent humans from becoming a threat. "Too late for that," Reyes murmured as he downloaded the data and planted the final charge. On the Retribution's bridge, Admiral Stone watched as the battle turned decisively in Earth's favor. The Vex fleet, once imposing, was now in disarray. "Sir," Jackson reported, "the rescue teams have recovered all identified human captives." "Extraction successful." Stone nodded. "And the charges?" in place and ready to detonate on your command. Stone opened a channel to all Earth ships. All vessels, complete final attack pattern and withdraw to safe distance. The Earth fleet executed a coordinated assault that drove the remaining Vex ships toward their staging area. As they retreated, Stone opened a direct channel to the Vex command ship. This is Admiral Stone. Your fleet is defeated. Your research facility is compromised. You have one opportunity to surrender and release all specimens of all species you have captured. The response came quickly, a series of energy blasts aimed directly at the Retribution. Stone's expression hardened. As expected, they don't understand diplomacy. He turned to Jackson. Signal the strike teams to detonate the charges. Across the massive Vex staging area, quantum disruptor bombs activated simultaneously. The resulting chain reaction tore through the structure, releasing energy equivalent to a small supernova. The Vex command ship and their remaining vessels were caught in the expanding wave of destruction. 3 days later, aboard the Retribution, Dr. Miller stood beside Admiral Stone as they watched the rescued captives being treated in the medical bay. Among them were scientists from the Horizon, still alive after their ordeal. The Vex kept extensive records of their operations, Miller said, reviewing the data Reyes had recovered. There are coordinates for at least 5 more of their facilities throughout this sector of space. Stone nodded slowly. Then our work isn't finished. No, sir, Miller agreed. But they'll be expecting us now. Good, Stone said. Let them expect us. Let them fear us. The next time they see an Earth vessel, they'll remember what happened here. He turned to the view screen, looking out at the stars beyond. We need to contact the other species they've been harvesting. Form alliances. No one should be treated as specimens. And if we encounter more Vex. Stone's gaze was steady. Then we'll respond the same way. Earth protects its own, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves. On the main communications channel, an encoded message was prepared for broadcast across all known space. It contained images of the battle, recordings of the Vex research logs, and a simple statement. This is a message from Earth to all who would threaten us or others. We came to space in peace. We sent scientists to learn. We dispatched rescue ships to save lives. But when our peaceful missions were attacked, we responded with the full measure of our strength. Remember what happened here. Earth stands ready to extend friendship to all peaceful species. But those who attack innocent missions, those who harvest sentient beings as specimens, you have been warned. Earth will respond with complete vengeance. The message was sent, and a new chapter in humanity's story among the stars began. Commander Jack Miller stood at the viewing window of the Earth Defense Fleet flagship Defender, watching the alien ships approach. They were unlike anything humans had ever seen before. Smooth, dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, with strange patterns that glowed blue along their hulls. "They're hailing us again, sir," said Lieutenant Dan, the communications officer. Miller nodded. "Put them through." The main screen flickered to life, showing a creature that still made Miller's skin crawl even after 3 previous meetings. The Vex had pale gray skin that looked almost like stone, with 4 black eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Their mouths were small and lipless, more like slits in their face than proper mouths. "Commander Miller," said the alien in its oddly flat voice, "we are pleased to continue our talks." "Ambassador Kron," Miller replied with a polite nod. "The feeling is mutual." It wasn't, not really. Something about the Vex made Miller uneasy, but he was a soldier following orders. Earth needed allies, not enemies, especially now that humans had spread to several colony worlds. "We request permission to dock for face-to-face discussions," said Kron. "Permission granted. We'll meet you in docking bay 3. An hour later, Miller stood watching as the Vex shuttle connected to the Defender. 5 Vex officials walked out, moving with that strange, too smooth gait that made them look almost like machines rather than living beings. "Welcome aboard," Miller said, giving the greeting gesture that the Vex had taught them. Right hand flat against the chest. Kron returned the gesture. We bring greetings from the High Council. They are most interested in forming an alliance with humans. As are we, Miller said. Please, follow me to the conference room. As they walked through the ship's corridors, Miller noticed how the Vex turned their heads to watch the crew members they passed. Her black eyes seemed to linger especially long on Ensign Roberts, who was showing pictures of her newborn baby to another crew member. You have young on this vessel? Kron asked suddenly. No, Miller replied. We don't bring children on military ships. Ensign Roberts was just showing pictures of her baby, who is back on Earth with family. Fascinating, said Kron. Your species shows great attachment to your offspring. Of course we do, Miller said, feeling slightly confused. Don't the Vex care for their young? Our reproduction is different, Kron replied. But we find human family structures most interesting. The meeting went well, at least on the surface. The Vex agreed to a basic peace treaty and trade agreement. They seemed especially interested in cultural exchange, asking many questions about human society. We noticed that humans expend considerable resources on their young, said one of the Vex officials named Mech. They seem remarkably inefficient. They cannot contribute to society for many years. Miller felt a strange chill at the way Mech said this. Children are our future. Every human society puts great value on protecting and educating our children, even to the point of sacrificing adult lives. Asked Kron. If necessary, yes, Miller answered firmly. There's nothing most humans wouldn't do to protect a child, even one not their own. The Vex exchanged glances in a way that Miller couldn't read. Interesting, said Kron. We would like to learn more about human children. I can provide educational materials about human development, offered Dr. Linda Reed, the ship's chief science officer. That would be acceptable, said Kron. Later, in Miller's office, Dr. Reed voiced her concerns. They ask too many questions about our children, she said. It feels wrong. Miller nodded. I've had the same feeling. But the High Command wants this treaty signed. The Vex have technology we need, especially their faster-than-light drive improvements. Still, I added a special clause to the treaty, Reed said. It specifically mentions that any harm to human children would be considered the gravest possible violation. Good thinking, Miller said. Though I can't imagine why any species would deliberately harm children. The next day, the treaty was signed. The main points were simple: non-aggression, trade rights, and respect for each species' territory and colonies. We look forward to a long and beneficial relationship, said Kron as the ceremony concluded. As do we, Miller replied. But I want to make one thing very clear. The treaty specifies this, but I want to say it personally as well. Humans value our children above all else. Any harm to them would be considered the worst possible offense. It would unite all humans against whoever was responsible. Kron's 4 eyes blinked slowly. We understand, Commander. Rest assured, we have no interest in your offspring beyond scientific curiosity about their development. As the Vex prepared to leave, Miller watched them with unease. Something still felt off, but he couldn't put his finger on what it was. Safe journey, he said as Kron boarded the shuttle. Until we meet again, Kron replied. From the viewing window, Miller watched the Vex ships pull away, their strange blue patterns glowing against the blackness of space. I don't trust them, said Reed, standing beside him. Neither do I, admitted Miller. But orders are orders. At least we have the treaty now. What neither of them could see was what happened inside the Vex command ship. Kron entered a secure communication chamber and activated a hidden channel. First contact phase complete, Kron reported. The humans are as we expected. Technologically advanced but held back by their emotional attachments. What of their young? Asked a voice from the other end. They are indeed the key, said Kron. Humans will do anything to protect their children. This can be useful. Proceed with the next phase, ordered the voice. Identify the most isolated human colony. We need specimens for study. Already done, said Kron, bringing up a star map. A small colony called Horizon. Recently established. Minimal defenses, many young ones. Excellent. We will wait 3 cycles to avoid suspicion, then proceed. The humans' emotional weakness will be their undoing. As the Vex ships jumped to faster than light speed, Commander Miller stood watching the empty space where they had been. He couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible had just begun. I want all information we have on the Vex reviewed again, he told Reed. And I'm going to recommend increased defenses for our outer colonies, especially those with children. Better safe than sorry. Little did he know that his instincts were right, and that in 3 years' time, he would face the consequences of this first contact. The Vex had no idea what would happen when they crossed the one line humans had clearly drawn. Do not harm our children. They would learn, but by then, it would be too late. 3 years had passed since the treaty with the Vex was signed. On the frontier colony world of Horizon, life had fallen into a comfortable routine. The planet had rich soil, clean water, and a climate that reminded many settlers of Earth's temperate regions. Tom Green wiped sweat from his forehead as he finished repairing the colony's water filtration system. Before moving to Horizon, he had been an engineer on Earth's military vessels. Now he used those skills to help build a new home for his family and the 200 other colonists. Dad, come look what I found. Tom smiled as his 8-year-old daughter Emma ran toward him, her brown hair bouncing with each step. She held something cupped carefully in her small hands. What did you find, sweetheart? He asked, kneeling down to her level. Emma slowly opened her hands to reveal a small creature that looked like a cross between a butterfly and a lizard. Its wings glittered with rainbow colors in the sunlight. It's a flutter lizard, Tom said. They're native to this planet. It's so pretty, Emma said, eyes wide with wonder. Can I keep it? Better to let it go, Tom said gently. Wild things need to be free. Emma nodded and opened her hands. The creature fluttered its wings and flew away. They both watched it disappear into the sky. Mom says dinner is almost ready, Emma said. She made real potatoes today, from our garden. I'll be right there, Tom promised. Just need to finish this connection. Later that evening, Tom sat on the porch of their prefabricated home with his wife Lisa. They watched Emma playing with the other colony children in the central green area of the settlement. She's growing so fast, Lisa said, leaning against Tom's shoulder. I'm glad we made the decision to come here. It's a good place for her to grow up. Tom nodded. Clean air, space to run, other kids her age. Better than those crowded city towers on Earth. The colony's warning siren suddenly blared to life, making them both jump. What's that? Lisa asked, fear edging into her voice. Tom was already on his feet. Unscheduled ship approaching. Could be nothing. But the colony's communication system crackled. Unidentified vessel entering orbit. All citizens please return to your homes until we confirm their identity. Parents rushed to gather their children from the green. Tom ran toward Emma, who looked confused by the sudden activity. Come on, honey, he said, taking her hand. We need to go inside for a bit. They had almost reached their home when the sky darkened. Tom looked up and felt his blood turn cold. A massive ship hung above them, unlike any human vessel he had ever seen. Its dark hull absorbed the sunlight, with blue patterns glowing along its sides. Vex, he whispered. The ship was not alone. 3 smaller craft detached from it and descended toward the colony. Colony security forces moved into position, but they were few. Only 5 trained soldiers with basic weapons. This was supposed to be a peaceful colony, not a military outpost. All civilians inside, shouted the head of security. This is not a drill. Tom hurried Emma and Lisa into their home and locked the door. He moved to a hidden panel in the wall and opened it, revealing a small pulse rifle, a remnant from his military days that he had brought along, just in case. Tom. Lisa's voice trembled. What are they doing here? I don't know, he said, checking the rifle's charge. But the Vex signed a treaty. They can't just. A blinding flash of light cut him off. The windows of their home shattered, and a strange humming filled the air. Tom felt himself unable to move, some kind of stasis field. Through the window, he could see the same happening across the colony. People frozen in place, looks of terror on their faces. The Vex ships landed in the colony center. Tall, gray figures emerged from the ships. They moved with purpose, checking homes and buildings. Tom struggled against the invisible force holding him, but couldn't move an inch. He could only watch. Emma whimpered beside him, also caught in the field but able to make small sounds. "Daddy, I'm scared." "It's going to be okay, sweetheart," Tom said, though he had no idea if that was true. The door to their home crashed open. Two Vex entered, their 4 black eyes surveying the room coldly. One pointed a device at Emma. "Suitable subject," it said in a flat voice. "Age and development optimal. Don't you touch her," Tom shouted, still unable to move. "We have a treaty." The Vex ignored him. One of them approached Emma and placed a small disc on her forehead. She slumped immediately, unconscious. "No," Lisa screamed. The Vex picked up Emma's limp body and carried her out. Tom fought with every ounce of his strength against the stasis field, but it held firm. Through the window, he could see similar scenes playing out across the colony. The Vex were taking children, only children, from their homes. After what seemed like hours but was probably only minutes, the stasis field suddenly dropped. Tom fell forward, catching himself on the table. He grabbed his rifle and ran outside, but it was too late. The Vex ships were already lifting off, taking their precious cargo with them. The colony's central communication tower had been damaged, but not destroyed. Tom sprinted toward it, joining other desperate parents who had the same idea. The colony's administrator, an older man named James, was already trying to send a distress signal. "They took 12 children," he said, voice shaking with rage and fear, "including Emma." "I'm sorry, Tom." Tom pushed past him and grabbed the communication controls. As a former military engineer, he knew exactly how to boost the signal to reach Earth faster. "This is Horizon Colony," he transmitted. "We are under attack by Vex forces. They have abducted 12 of our children, ages 6 to 10. Request immediate assistance. Repeat, Vex have taken our children." As he worked, a message appeared on all screens in the colony. It showed a Vex face, one Tom recognized from news reports about the treaty signing 3 years ago, Ambassador Kron. "People of Horizon Colony," the message said, "we have collected specimens for study. Your young ones will be returned once our research is complete. Do not attempt rescue or retaliation. This is a scientific mission only." The message ended, leaving stunned silence behind. "Specimens," Lisa whispered, having followed Tom to the communication tower. "They called our children specimens." Tom's hands clenched into fists. He had seen what the Vex ships could do, knew the kind of weapons they had. The colony had nothing that could chase them, nothing that could fight them. But he also knew something the Vex apparently didn't understand, what humans were capable of when their children were threatened. "I will find her," Tom promised, pulling Lisa close. "I don't care what it takes. I don't care if I have to build a ship myself. I will find Emma and bring her home." In orbit around Horizon, Kron watched the colony through the ship's sensors. The humans were sending distress signals as expected. It would take days for those signals to reach Earth, and days more for any help to arrive. By then, the research would be well underway. "Begin preliminary testing on the specimens," Kron ordered. "I want to know everything about how human young respond to stress and fear." What Kron failed to understand was that the Vex had just crossed the one line humans had explicitly warned them never to cross. They were about to learn exactly what that meant. Commander Jack Miller was in the middle of a routine briefing when the emergency alert sounded. He rushed to the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters, where officers were gathered around the main screen. "Report," he ordered, stepping into the room. Admiral Wilson looked up, her face grim. "We just received a distress signal from Horizon Colony. The Vex attacked them 3 days ago. They've taken children, Jack. 12 of them." Miller felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. "Taken children? Are you certain?" "The message is clear," Wilson said, playing the recording. Tom Green's desperate voice filled the room, describing the abduction of his daughter and 11 other children. "Those gray-skinned monsters," Miller muttered. "I warned them. I specifically warned them about harming our children." He turned to the communications officer. "Get me a direct line to the Vex Council." Now, while they worked to establish communication, Miller studied the report from Horizon. The Vex had used stasis technology to immobilize the colonists, then systematically collected children between the ages of 6 and 10. They had damaged communication equipment but caused no other destruction. "Sir, we have a connection to the Vex," announced the communications officer. The screen flickered, and Ambassador Kron's face appeared. Miller had to control his anger at the sight of those 4 black eyes, so cold and emotionless. "Commander Miller," said Kron, showing no surprise. "We anticipated your call." "You've violated our treaty," Miller said, keeping his voice level with effort. "Return the children you took from Horizon immediately." "There is no need for alarm," Kron replied. "This is a simple scientific study. The specimens will be returned once our research is complete." "Specimens." Miller felt his face grow hot. "Those are children, Ambassador. Human children. Return them unharmed within 48 hours, or there will be consequences." Kron's face showed no reaction. "Your emotional response is noted but unnecessary. Our research requires approximately 30 of your Earth days. The young ones will be returned at that time." 48 hours, Miller repeated. "That's our only offer." "Or what, Commander?" Kron's voice had a hint of amusement now. "Your ships cannot match our speed. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. We have studied your military capabilities extensively. You think you know what humans are capable of." Miller leaned closer to the screen. "You have no idea what you've done by taking our children. 48 hours, Ambassador. After that, you'll understand exactly what it means to face humanity's wrath." Miller cut the connection before Kron could respond. He turned to Admiral Wilson. "Activate the Prometheus protocol." Wilson's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "That's our last resort option. They've taken children. Admiral, there is no greater offense. Begin the preparations." Across the room, officers were already moving with new purpose. The Prometheus protocol was a contingency plan developed after first contact with alien species. It detailed the full deployment of humanity's true military capabilities, technologies and weapons that had been kept hidden from all alien observers. "And get me everything we have on Tom Green from Horizon Colony," Miller added. His daughter Emma was among those taken. On the colony supply ship Merchant, Tom Green sat quietly in a storage compartment. 3 days earlier, he had bribed a cargo handler to smuggle him aboard. The ship was scheduled to deliver supplies to the Earth Defense Fleet outpost, and from there, Tom had a plan to reach Vex space. He looked at the small photo of Emma he carried, her bright smile, her innocent eyes. "I'm coming, sweetheart," he whispered. The ship's engines changed tone, signaling they were approaching their destination. Tom prepared to move. As a former military engineer, he knew exactly how these ships were laid out. He slipped out of the storage compartment and made his way toward the shuttle bay. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. Tom froze, thinking he'd been discovered. But the announcement that followed had nothing to do with him. "All personnel, this is the captain. We've received emergency orders to dock with EDF Command Ship Defender. Prometheus protocol has been activated. This is not a drill." Tom felt a chill. During his military service, he had heard rumors about the Prometheus protocol, a plan for full-scale war that would reveal weapons and technologies kept secret even from Earth's own citizens. If that protocol was active, It could only mean one thing. Earth was going to war with the Vex. In the Vex research facility, Emma Green sat huddled in a corner of her cell. The room was small and white, with strange lights that never turned off. There was a bed that wasn't really a bed, more like a shelf attached to the wall, and a small toilet-like thing that flushed automatically. Emma wasn't alone. 5 other children were in the same room, all from Horizon Colony. The youngest was 6-year-old Billy, who hadn't stopped crying for his mom, and the oldest was 10-year-old Mark, who kept telling everyone they needed to be brave. The door slid open, and 2 Vex entered. Emma shrank back against the wall. These aliens scared her with their gray skin and 4 black eyes that never blinked. "Subject 7, said one of the Vex, pointing at Emma. "Come for testing." "No," Emma said, shaking her head. "I want to go home." The Vex looked at each other, seeming confused by her refusal. One of them pulled out a small device. "Resistance noted," it said. "Increasing emotional stress will provide valuable data." The device projected an image in the air, Emma's home on Horizon. Then it showed her parents, Tom and Lisa, looking terrified as Vex soldiers approached them. "No," Emma cried. "Don't hurt them." "Fascinating," said the Vex. "Subject shows more distress for parent units than for self. Confirm previous hypothesis about human young." The second Vex approached Emma. "If you resist, your parent units will be collected for study as well. Comply, and they remain unharmed." Emma stood up, her small hands balled into fists. "My dad was in the military," she said. "He's going to come for me. And he's going to be really, really mad at you." The Vex made a sound that might have been laughter. "Human young show interesting imagination. Your father has no means to reach this facility. Now come." Emma followed, not because she believed their threats, but because she remembered what her dad had once told her. "If bad people ever take you somewhere, pay attention to everything you see. It might help you escape, or help others find you." So she looked carefully at every corridor, every door, every Vex they passed. She counted her steps and remembered which way they turned. The Vex didn't seem to think she was smart enough to do this. They brought her to a room filled with strange equipment. Other Vex in different colored clothing waited there. "Begin emotional response testing," ordered one. As they attached sensors to her arms, Emma thought about her dad. He would come for her. She was sure of it. And when he did, these aliens would be sorry they ever took her away from home. On Earth, Miller stood before the World Council, the emergency governing body for all human colonies. "The Vex have left us no choice," he said. "They were warned. They took our children anyway. I've activated the Prometheus Protocol." "The consequences will be severe," said one council member. "A full-scale conflict with the Vex will cost many lives." "And what is the cost of doing nothing?" Miller asked. "What message does that send to every other species in the galaxy? That they can take our children without consequences? No, the Vex crossed the one line we clearly drew. Now they'll learn exactly what that means." The vote was unanimous. Earth would go to war. As Miller left the chamber, an aide approached him. "Sir, we've received a report. Tom Green, father of one of the abducted children, has gone missing from Horizon Colony. He's believed to have stowed away on a supply ship." Miller smiled grimly. "He's going after his daughter. Good. Make sure our forces know about him. When we attack, I want that man found and helped, not hindered." The Vex had no idea what was coming for them. They were about to face the full fury of a species that would do anything, absolutely anything, to protect its children. The 48-hour deadline passed with no word from the Vex. On the bridge of the Defender, now the command ship for Earth's assembled fleet, Commander Miller watched the countdown reach 0. "They've made their choice," he said quietly. He turned to Admiral Wilson. "Launch the Prometheus ships. From hidden bases on Mars, Jupiter's moons, and deep space stations, vessels unlike any seen before emerge. They were sleek, black, and much smaller than regular human battleships. For decades, Earth had been developing these ships in secret, equipped with technology far beyond what they had shared with any alien species. "All Prometheus vessels report ready, sir," said the tactical officer. Miller nodded. "Transmit jump coordinates to all ships. We strike directly at the heart of Vex space." The assembled fleet of over 200 ships, most of which had never been seen by non-human eyes, prepared for faster-than-light travel. Their destination, the Vex homeworld. "They think they know what humans are capable of," Miller said to Wilson as the countdown for the jump began. "They're about to learn how wrong they are." Tom Green had managed to transfer from the supply ship to a small scout vessel. Using skills from his military days, he had reprogrammed the ship's computer to accept his commands. Now he flew through Vex space, following the tracking device he had built. Before leaving Horizon, Tom had analyzed the energy signature of the Vex ships. Every vessel left a unique trail in space, and he had designed a device to follow it. The trail led to a large space station orbiting a red dwarf star. According to the ship's computer, this was a Vex research facility. "Hold on, Emma," he whispered. "Dad's coming." The scout ship was small enough to avoid detection as Tom approached the station. He found a maintenance dock on the far side, away from the main entrances. Using the ship's tools, he cut through the outer door and slipped inside. The corridors were empty. Tom moved quickly but carefully, using his homemade scanner to detect life signs. His military training came back to him as he avoided security sensors and cameras. After 20 minutes of searching, the scanner picked up readings that could only be human children. They were being held on the lower level of the station. Tom made his way down, his heart pounding with both fear and hope. In the testing room, Emma sat with sensors attached to her arms and head. The Vex had been showing her pictures and videos, measuring her reactions. "Subject shows strong emotional response to images of parent units in danger," noted one Vex researcher. "Confirm that human young prioritize family safety over personal comfort." "What is purpose of this attachment?" asked another Vex. "It seems inefficient." "Unknown. Perhaps evolutionary advantage in primitive environments." Emma tried to ignore their talking. She had been counting the days since her capture. This was the 5th day. The Vex thought she couldn't understand their plans, but she listened carefully to everything they said. "Tomorrow we begin Phase 2 testing," said the lead researcher. "Isolation effects on human young." That sounded bad. Emma didn't want to be alone. She already missed the other kids from Horizon, who were being held in different rooms. Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the station. The Vex researchers looked up in confusion. "Security breach in Sector 7, announced a voice over the station speakers. "All research personnel evacuate to safe areas." The Vex hurried from the room, leaving Emma alone with the sensors still attached to her. She quickly pulled them off and ran to the door. It was locked, but through the small window, she could see Vex running in the corridor, looking panicked. Something was happening. Something big. On the Vex homeworld, Ambassador Kron stood before the High Council, reporting on the human ultimatum. "Their deadline has passed," Kron said. "As expected, they have done nothing. Their threats were empty, as our intelligence suggested." The lead counselor nodded. "The research data from the human young is valuable. Their emotional attachments make them unique among species we have studied." An aide rushed into the chamber, his gray face showing signs of agitation. "A rare emotion for a Vex. High Council, we have detected a massive energy spike at the edge of our system," the aide reported. "Multiple ships have appeared. They are human vessels, but they do not match any known human ship design in our database." "Impossible," said Kron. "Human ships cannot reach our system this quickly. Their faster-than-light technology is inferior to ours." The chamber's main screen activated, showing a fleet of sleek, black ships approaching the Vex defense line. They moved with incredible speed, easily avoiding the Vex defensive fire. "They hid their true capabilities from us," the lead counselor realized. "Activate all defenses. This is not the human response we anticipated. On the research station, Tom found the cell block where the children were being held. 6 doors, each with a small window showing a child inside. He spotted Emma in the 3rd cell. "Emma," he called, working to override the door lock. Emma's face lit up with joy when she saw him. "Dad, I knew you'd come. I told them you would." The door slid open, and Emma flew into his arms. Tom hugged her tightly, fighting back tears. "We need to get the others," Emma said immediately. "There are 11 more kids here." Tom nodded. "Show me where." With Emma's help, Tom freed the other children from Horizon Colony. As they gathered in the corridor, he tried to figure out their next move. His small scout ship couldn't carry 13 people. "We need to find a bigger ship," he told the children. "Stay close together and follow me." As they moved through the station, more alarms began to sound. "Warning. Human fleet detected in Vex space. All personnel to battle stations." Tom smiled grimly. Earth had come for its children, just as he had. On the Defender, Miller watched as the first wave of Prometheus ships engaged the Vex defense fleet. The new human vessels moved with incredible speed, their advanced weapons cutting through Vex shields like they weren't even there. "Sir, we've detected human life signs on the research station in Sector 4, reported the sensor officer. Miller leaned forward. "How many?" 13, sir. 12 children and 1 adult. Tom Green, Miller said with certainty. "He found them before we did." He turned to Wilson. "Send a strike team to that station. I want those children rescued, and that man brought safely to the fleet." On the main screen, they watched as Vex ships fell one after another to Earth's hidden fleet. The Vex had never seen Earth's true military might. Like many before them, they had mistaken human restraint for weakness. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Vex High Council," announced the communications officer. "On screen," Miller ordered. The lead Vex counselor appeared, his normally emotionless face showing clear signs of distress. "Commander Miller, we wish to discuss terms," the counselor said. "This attack is unnecessary. The research subjects would have been returned as promised." "Those research subjects are children," Miller replied coldly. "You were warned. The time for discussion has passed." "We did not understand the significance," the counselor insisted. "We offer immediate return of all human young and formal apologies." Miller's expression remained hard. "Too late. The Prometheus Protocol is in effect. You will surrender unconditionally, or we will continue until there is nothing left of your fleet." As if to emphasize his point, another Vex battleship exploded on the screen behind him. For the first time in recorded history, a Vex showed fear. "We surrender," the counselor said. "Please, stop your attack." Miller nodded. "All ships, cease fire." He leaned toward the screen. "Now about those children." Miller smiled. "That's exactly why you're getting a medal, Tom. You showed the galaxy what humans are willing to do for their children. You infiltrated a Vex facility with nothing but homemade tools and determination. That's the kind of courage we want the galaxy to know about." The ceremony began, with the world president presenting medals to Miller, Tom, and several others who had played key roles in the rescue. Emma watched proudly as her father received his award. Afterward, at the reception, representatives from 7 different alien species approached Miller. They had all come to establish formal relations with Earth after hearing about the defeat of the Vex. "Your species is impressive," said one ambassador, a tall, bird-like being. "We had no idea humans possessed such technology or resolve." "We prefer peace," Miller replied. "But there are some lines that should never be crossed." 6 months later, life on Horizon Colony had returned to normal. Tom and Lisa sat on their porch, watching Emma play with her friends in the central green area. The children showed no lasting trauma from their ordeal, bouncing back with the resilience only children seem to possess. "She's doing so well," Lisa said, leaning against Tom's shoulder. Tom nodded. "Kids are stronger than we give them credit for." In orbit above Horizon, A small defense platform now stood guard, a gift from Earth Defense Fleet to ensure nothing like the abduction would ever happen again. Similar platforms now protected every human colony, visible reminders of Earth's commitment to its most precious citizens. Emma looked up from her game and waved at her parents. She had become something of a celebrity among the children, telling exciting stories about her adventure in space and how her dad had rescued her from the aliens. Some parts of her story seemed far-fetched, like how she had memorized the layout of the Vex station or understood their research plans. But the truth was, Emma had provided valuable intelligence that helped Earth understand Vex technology and culture. "She's going to join the fleet when she grows up, you know," Tom said with a smile. "She's already decided." Lisa laughed, like father, like daughter. Across the galaxy, word had spread about what happened to the Vex. The story grew with each telling. How humans had hidden their true power, how they had unleashed devastating weapons when their children were threatened, how one father had invaded a Vex station alone to save his daughter. Other species now approached human colonies with careful respect, especially when children were present. The message was clear and would be remembered for generations to come. Humans might be peaceful explorers and traders. They might seek friendship and cooperation, but harm their children, and they would stop at nothing to protect them. We warned them. They didn't listen, and they would never make that mistake again.